Hey, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. I am Kate Dillon with Crate Insider, and I'm here today with Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines, a co-host, and we have a special guest today, Alex Hendren.
Super special.
Yes, from Alex Hendren Racing, and also from Hendren Racing Engines. Would you like to introduce yourself, Alex?
My name is Alex Hendren, and yes, I am indeed from Hendren Racing Engines. I also race as well, so... I mean, we haven't had as much time as I would have liked so far to race, but we're doing a lot of R&D here recently.
2023 season we're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about this year, but haven't had as much time to race as I would have liked. But like I said, doing a lot of R&D, figuring some cool stuff out. So
yeah,
I'm liking it.
Of course, it doesn't help when you go test and you blow a right front tire and knock the damn fence down the first night out.
About that. No, yeah, we ran into a little bit of a snag there. I turned the track record times at the place I was testing at, and then went to make my last final lap and blew a right front tire and kind of knocked the whole front end off of it. So that was a major setback. But we got it all fixed. We raced a couple weeks ago, and it was all right. It was up and down kind of night, but I mean, I'm good now. We're set to go on the 3rd of July, so this coming Monday.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens.
Tell them where you're racing.
Racing at Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina, with the Blue Ridge Outlaws for the Robbie Weaver Memorial. It's a 3,500 to win race, so should be a decent show. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep, that'd be awesome.
Uh-huh.
So definitely no podcast next Monday.
No, sorry.
Oh yeah.
Of course, we've had technical difficulties here recently, so we haven't had a podcast recently, but hopefully we'll be back on normal schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I see we got some folks here. So I see Scott is here from California.
Hey,
he says, hi, SK and Alex. Nice to have you back in the air again. Happy Monday from California.
Absolutely.
Well, hi, Scott. Thank you for joining us. And amazing assistant Tori is here saying, hey, y'all.
Hey there.
And your friend Pat is here. Hi, guys.
Yep.
Saying hi. Well, great. Well, welcome, everybody. And anyone who has questions, feel free to drop them into the comments, whether those are questions just, that you're having with your racing, or if you have a specific question for Alex, feel free to drop that in.
Or Kate or me, honestly.
I mean, I'm not what?
The
I can answer nerd.
Well, you are from Crate Insider, so you do sell stuff. So
yeah, I do. I do. I'm not really your tech person. I mean, unless it's like geek stuff, like all of this equipment and stuff. So how do I build a website?
Which is actually a pretty amazing setup. If you look behind the scenes, there's all sorts of shit everywhere.
So many cords. So many cords. I know I should have one of the cameras pointed to all. This looks like such a mess. Yeah, we got laptop, mixer board, camera switcher, 2 cameras, tripods, lights, 3 microphones, and there's a 4th one right over there in case it's our backup. Because you got to have backups for everything. Headphones. Yeah.
No, this is the first time I've been on this setup. The last time was out on the patio.
Oh,
yeah. So this is new to me too. So sorry it took so long, but it's all new to me now.
You're back.
Yeah, back with a vengeance.
Yeah. So it's great to have you back as a repeat guest. And what would you say are the biggest things that you've learned as you've increased your experience and developed your racing career? I mean, you've won a race since the last time you were on the podcast. What are some of the things you've learned other than how to do better body work?
Yeah, the body work has been a definite must there in that department. But no, just honestly, staying humble. I mean, that's a main thing for me too. Is I mean, you can go out there and set the world on fire one night, and then the following week you're getting lapped. So it's all about give and take, honestly. But no, learning about, like I said, staying humble and learning about how much your suspension means to you. That's the main thing for me too. Is I've gotten in touch with some really good people that know a lot in the suspension department. We'll get to that later, I'm sure. But just how much all that stuff means. And it didn't mean so much maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, but now it's like everything. Like if you don't have that stuff tuned in, all four corners, then
well, and it's a relationship you establish with those people.
Yeah. Also,
so it's going to be like us, in our business with the engines. It's a relationship you establish with the engine builder. It's the relationship you establish with the part seller, right? So those are all vital. That's vital to being successful. It's vital to learning new information. It's vital to everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, relationships are so core to my business, and there might be some manufacturers out there that maybe they've got one of the pieces, maybe they do it better, but if they're hard to get a hold of, if I can't get questions answered, things like that is a factor. And so I do pay close attention to that, because a lot of times I don't know the answer, but if I know who to call, or sometimes I even just send my customers over there. I mean, today I had a drive shaft question, so I knew that I didn't exactly know the answer, so I gave the racer Pat Fagan's phone number over at Fast Shafts, and then the customer called me back, because a lot of times you find those situations where the customer has a question, and then you're dealt with another question, and it's I'm not trying to put it off, but then I end up being like messenger over here.
But I mean, fair enough. If you don't know, you don't know. So,
well, I'm just honest about that.
Being honest about it's like the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think we've ever lied to anybody on this show all the years we've done it now. So
no,
if I don't know something, I'm going to tell you I don't know it. If you don't know something, you're going to tell them you don't know it.
Well, and he said he really appreciated that, because there's a lot of people that would probably just blow smoke and say that. And I mean, dude, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's not how you do business, blowing smoke either. I mean, there are people out there that do that, and I don't know how they sleep at night. But
if you don't know, you ask somebody who does.
Right. And if it was a question, I felt like, like these get really specific. So I don't always know the answer, but I usually know who to call. As far as that goes. And looks like we got some folks on here. So I see Terry is here. He says watching from Princeton, West Virginia. Nice. It's always fun to see where people are watching from. Absolutely. So we've got, California, West Virginia, North Carolina so far. And Ashley's here saying, hey guys. That's Alex's girlfriend. But yeah, she knows where you are anyway, right? This is live. And Arthur says, is a 1/4-inch carb spacer better for torque on a 3/8 mile track versus a half? Track rules say open spacer, no divider.
Not that I found, no. So yeah, I guess no divider, so that means no 4-hole.
No, so open.
But what kind of engine?
Yeah.
Because is it a 604 or 602?
Yeah.
Or a 5? I mean, I assume it's going to be 604 or 602. But generally, like on 604s, the plenum on that intake manifold is actually a little bit on the large side anyway. So that 5/8 has been about the ideal thing that we found, that 5/8 spacer. We've tried 1/2 inch and lost. We've tried 1 inch and lost. We've tried 3/4 and lost, but that 5/8 is like about the happy medium.
Sweet spot.
Yeah. I mean, and this depends also on the carburetor that you're using, obviously. So, what venturi size, and there's many different variables, but on average, that 5/8 is about the best on a 604. 602.
And Arthur says he's got a 602.
Oh, 602. Then no. If you got to run it open, God, that sucks. Shitty rules there. No, I'd still run the 1 inch.
Great.
It's a dual plane. You got to get that fuel enough time to, get separated between the big ledge there in the middle.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I mean,
well, it's not just your opinion, it's your testing as well.
Right.
Yeah. It's not like it's your first day.
Well, I don't honestly work around a lot of those rules where, it's like you can't have a center divider, because the one we found is that 1 inch that's got the center divider in it. That works best on 602s. But it's kind of a half-ass educated guess is what I'm getting at.
Oh, I've got a great comment here. So Web Racing, he actually made a comment the other day on our YouTube channel. I'm just supposing a he, because I mean, just hey, if you're not a he, it is what it is. I mean, I'm just used to most of my audience.
Well, you are a she in the industry.
I am. Yeah, it's great at PRI. I'm like one of like 12 women in the whole place. It's great. There's never a line in the bathroom. I'll tell you that. So Web Racing says, you guys rock. Have been learning so much about my 604. I'm using it for drag racing.
Oh,
And
that's
that's what he commented is like, I think I'm the only one here that's drag racing with a 604.
That's really
That's
interesting,
interesting,
actually. I never even thought that would be something that you could do. I mean, not
that you couldn't.
weirdly, but yeah, no, not that you couldn't.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool.
So that's super cool. And I actually really love drag racing. I love if I'm going to go to racing for entertainment, I'm going to go to drag racing.
Oh, 100%. You love that, like the 4-wide nationals. And
Oh
all that
my
stuff
God,
they
so
do
much.
in Charlotte
Yes.
every year and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I love the IHRA stuff. I love the energy, and I love,
What was it now? 6 years ago, roughly? Where
longer.
you did? Is it that long ago?
Oh, it's going to be back in
thought it was longer
2013.
than
I've got video of her.
It's 2013
in a dragster.
Yeah, it's 10 years ago, honey. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, that same day, that was the NHRA deal. The same.
It
day,
was.
Right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
before she actually went out and did her own
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I took the first time I've ever been to one, and took a video of the top fuel guys, and it blew the speaker out of my phone.
Exactly.
I couldn't hear anything out of it. I had to talk on speaker because I couldn't hear anything.
Well, what I love is it's like going to a drag race, especially those big ones. It's like a full body experience.
yeah.
It's like if you needed if you had, here's the good thing. I mean, if you were having heart issues in the stands, I mean, it's basically a defibrillator.
I guarantee it. Yeah.
It's like it's going to restart your heart.
It'll rattle your cage. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But if I remember right, you like hauled ass down through there.
Yeah, they did.
The reaction time was nice and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I did that, and yeah, I've got that on video somewhere. But yeah, that was back in that was back on 2013.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, so 10 years ago.
God, that does not seem like 10 years yet.
Mm.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it happens. All right. Tori says that Addison says hi to Alex.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Addison.
I think she's your super fan.
She's my favorite. She's the super fan of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Love her to death.
Yep. And Chad
She's
says
like a little spider monkey too.
She is.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, the energy that little girl has is insane.
mm-hmm.
She should be doing gymnastics, Tori.
Exactly.
Yes, I think she's working on her cartwheels right now. So Chad says just the people I need to see for a 604 rebuild. That's these guys.
There you go.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Anytime you're ready, man. We're actually I'm seeing a bit of a slowdown right now. So yeah, I mean, wait time is not that bad.
About what, 2 to 3 weeks?
Yeah.
So bring it.
Yep.
Cool. And looks like Sean's out here in Arizona, but still watching. How y'all doing?
Nice.
Well, Sean, I mean, look at this. We got West Virginia, California, North Carolina, Arizona. We're all over the place. That's
We're
cool.
Just throwing darts at the
At the
map here.
Yeah. Now, this is going to be a great question. I'm just going to preface, because I can already see the question, but this past week, and you can check over on the Crate Insider YouTube channel or on the CrateInsider.com website, but we've just introduced Walker has not only an oiled filter, but a filter that is dry media that you don't have to oil.
Mm-hmm.
And so Flip is asking the question. He says, do you prefer Walker oil or the new dry filter? So tell us a little bit about your experience and what your thoughts are. And then Steve, also talk about the results you've seen on the dyno.
Yeah.
Which I think is just going to mimic what I said on my video.
Honestly, Alex can probably attest to the dyno stuff because I was putting engines together today that they were dyno and testing.
Personally, in my opinion, like I said, opinions vary, like he said, but I prefer the dry media. Just due to the fact that with that oiled filter, as soon as you get it, it's perfect, nice and oiled up, and you use it a few times, and then it comes to the point where you have to wash it. So you wash it, and then the problem I was having, which I don't know if maybe other people get it right, and I just can't figure it out, but I either oil it too much or not enough. So not enough, I get dirt like down the carburetor. You can see dirt trails, and too much, and I'm getting blue goo down the carburetor.
Plenum,
yeah. So what I found with the dry media is I ran that thing for 2 races and a practice now, and I'm just now washing it. But no dirt in the carburetor. And as far as the dyno part of things go, we only saw about a 2 to 3 horsepower loss
with
in
the
that,
dry
which,
media.
with the dry media,
Yeah.
which isn't going to win or lose you a race,
No, it's,
to be honest.
it means nothing.
So just for the pure fact of convenience, I'm choosing the dry media like 100%.
Yep.
Well, and I learned something about that too, because I asked Leo out at Walker.
Mhm.
Again, we talk about relationships and where you would run into the situation where you were getting dirt in your engine with the oiled filter. It's more likely that it's too much oil, because when you put too much oil on the filter, happen is now you've given it's excess, so you've given yourself a surface for dust to stick to,
and it drags it into the engine.
and then yes, as the suction happens, then that excess oil is being dragged in, and now there's dirt attached to that oil getting sucked into the engine.
That would make sense.
And that's why. So I think it's hard to get it Goldilocks. It's kind of not too much, not too little.
Well.
But
yeah, that's the problem I was having, is it was either too much or not enough. And I think the too much was definitely worse. Because after, like, I'm about to wash the car, I take the air filter off, I look down in the carburetor, and there's just blue, like,
that's too much.
And I'm like, oh God, what did I do?
Yeah, that's too much.
Like, that can't be good to burn. So
I don't know. Maybe there's some, like, maybe we can get some high octane like an octane booster air filter oil, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Maybe that might be the next
new
best
products
thing.
being developed on the Racing Insiders podcast.
That's called a nitrous mister.
So maybe we can get Klotz and Walker together to make like an octane booster.
I gotta figure that out. That's good. That's good thinking there.
I don't know. Yeah, you got to be creative. Work with what you got, right? All right. So let's see here. Our next question. Matt says, Steve, would a lower heat range plug help with a car that would maybe be running rich or overloading? I'm currently on a R5724-8. So you must be using the NGK's plugs.
With what kind of fuel?
Okay. So Matt, what kind of fuel and what kind of car as well? Or what kind of motor, I should say. Engine.
Carburetor, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll find that. Yeah, and then I also brought in some questions here too. So we've got questions from the audience.
Yeah,
got some questions here. We'll see if Matt can give us an answer on that, or just in general. Steve, have you found it? The NGK plugs have been pretty much a go-to for us for a while.
It has been for a long time, but then Autolite has that AR94, which nowadays, like especially running E85, I actually prefer that plug.
Yeah, definitely. I've switched to that too.
We actually did a bunch of testing here recently, because we just put your 604 motor together, which you raced last weekend. But we did a bunch of testing on the dyno with different plugs, and every result came back to the AR94 Autolite. Honestly,
because we had a different plug in there. Well, actually, what happened was, which you probably already talked about this on a different episode.
No, I haven't, because we haven't had an episode in like 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
This is all new.
But we tried the Iridium fine wire plugs.
Yep.
And I originally tried those in my 525. And what had happened was, I guess when we gapped them, like the original gap was not enough.
Right.
It wouldn't burn.
Correct.
So we opened the gap up. And when we opened the gap up, it was too much for it.
Basically, tool up the valve.
And tool up the valve. It was burning the porcelain and everything off of the plug. So those don't work.
No.
So what we've ended up resulting to was,
on the 525, it's that brisk plug.
Yeah, the brisk plug for the 525.
Well, we've tried that in the 604 and it didn't work.
It doesn't work in the 604 for some reason. But yeah, we've been back to the Autolites in the 604 stuff now.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that plug number for the brisk.
Oh, absolutely.
For the 525.
Yeah, I've got it at the shop.
I think you're working on some. Are you working on some 525 recommendations?
I am. Yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have those, or I'll have those done in maybe about a week.
Okay.
So my plan is actually in our recommendation sheet, because I just pretty much tell everybody everything.
Yeah.
As we know with the recommendation stuff, or what we find to be accurate. Basically, I'm going to put the timing curve in those recommendation sheets, the whole 9 yards. So you could, if you've got the ability, you got a laptop, you can program your own box, you can program our timing curve into it, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's kind of the plan to do.
Yeah, I'll have to start emailing those out. I've had a couple people, get a hold of me and get me to send.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, if you're running a 525,
just message me or something. I'll give you the program.
Yeah, I mean, message him privately or just send an email to Hendon Racing Engines. hendronracing@gmail.com,
Mhm.
and Alex will, basically send you our program.
Okay.
I had one guy that
It's not super trick or anything.
No, it's
because
not, it's not
we've tried every freaking thing on these things.
Yeah, which we've come out with a newer one recently,
correct.
like semi-recently. But no, I had this one guy that I was like, he emailed and he was like, "Hey, can you send me a program? I just got this box and I sent it to him, and he was just like, How much for it?" I was like, "Don't worry about it. It's nothing." And he still sent me like $50 on Cash App. I'm like, well, I appreciate that.
Wait a minute, you didn't tell me that.
Huh? Don't worry about it. Those are something different. Never
Where's
mind.
my 25?
I don't know what I'm talking about.
All right. So back to this exact question here. And again, a lower heat range plug with a car that may be running rich or overloading. He has a 602. It's got a 2-barrel carb with 93 or a 110 VP max.
So no, the lower heat range will not help you in that application. And are you fouling the plugs, or I'm not quite understanding what's going on.
Well, I mean, he said he was.
Is it carburetor issue?
He says that the carburetor might be running rich or overloading. I'm not really sure what we mean by overloading.
Yeah.
So no, lower heat range will do the opposite. So.
Oh, okay.
So no.
Then it would burn less.
Yeah, no. So unfortunately, I mean, the shitty part about having to run 93 is it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, you can't get it the same.
You can't get it the same every time. I mean,
Joe Blow's going up the road to Sheets and getting 93, and then there's some racing 93, and it's just
it's so inconsistent. It's ridiculous. So no, that's no, but no, that will not. No, that won't help.
Okay. All right. So this.
But I wouldn't want to go hotter because again, 93's totally unpredictable.
It'd be better to focus attention on the carburetor then.
That's what I do. Talk to the carburetor guy.
Yeah, that would make sense. Maybe it's jets or something.
I mean, if it's on the track and it's trying to load up, then I talk to the carburetor guy. If it's in the garage and you just think it's I don't know, too rich in the garage, then it probably isn't. Honestly, we get that all the time with our 85 stuff. It's like, oh my god,
it's burning my eyes.
It's burning my eyes. Can I lean this out? And it's like, no, don't freaking touch the damn thing.
You're not racing at idle, buddy.
Exactly.
Good way to put it. Yeah, it's always fun, especially with anti-reversion mufflers. How many times we've gotten the comments about how it sounds like the car's missing.
Oh yeah, because the pop that you'll get.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and so when it's idling, you're like, in one sense, it sounds mean. It just sounds like it's mean and ready to go.
You get the occasional pop.
Right, and it's like, oh crap, am I missing?
Right.
But then you get out on the track and you're let it go, and
it sounds like a shot, doesn't it?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, real good. All right, so another question here. Ryan says, after how many races, either from brand new or rebuild, when do you think it's the right time to change valve springs?
Again, it depends on 602 or 604. So what we've found with 604s is the newest spring being produced by GM, which is not the blue one. So it's just like a natural colored spring with white stripe on it or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, at the very it may have one. Usually it's just regulars.
Yeah. So that spring is made by Pack. So that spring is actually extremely reliable. Knock on wood. Knock knock. I have yet to see one of those fail. Awesome. Thank you. I have yet to see one of those springs fail. I've seen those springs probably go 25, 30 races.
I didn't change mine at all.
No, exactly.
Last year, or when I was renting 604s the whole year, I didn't change it.
So as far as, and we checked them every weekend.
We checked them, but we didn't have to change them. Initially they lost 5, 6, 7 pounds of pressure or so, and then that's how they stayed.
Exactly.
And there was no point in changing them.
So what I have seen with 602s, however, it's still a shitty made in China, basically spring. And those are extremely inconsistent.
They're made in Mexico.
Well,
that's what the little stickers say on the little packages.
It's China. Just they don't have slant eyes down there.
Oh, geez.
So
wow. I'm always on the line of getting kicked off of YouTube.
But at any rate, those springs are extremely inconsistent. Matter of fact, they're technically horrible. So if it's a 602, I would randomly change them every 5 races. And again, you can buy the match set. I think you sell the match set, or you can buy just the standard set and just randomly change them. But without having a bench tester, it's really impossible to get a good baseline as far as like what you need to do. I think everyone should own a bench tester, but they're quite expensive.
Oh yeah, they are.
And it's quite time consuming pulling the springs off and testing on a bench tester. So most people are going to have an on the car type tester. So when the springs are new, that'll give you a baseline on what,
and make sure the same person pulls it every time.
And make sure the same person pulls the spring tester every time, on the car tester. Because I'm going to test it different than he's going to test it. She'll come in there and pull it and test it totally different than me and Alex would.
Well, and that's on the car tester, because at that you're trying to just like you are judging,
and it's only seat pressure.
Yeah, you're only judging like when it's coming off the seat. So whereas a bench tester, it doesn't matter. Any one of us could test on the bench tester, and we're all going to get, within a couple of pounds. There's always going to be a slight variation, but but not much. I mean, we're talking point something. It was funny.
Well,
I remember
it could be as much as 5 pounds.
Oh, not on my bench tester.
No, bench tester. No.
I
thought I'm sorry. I thought you were talking
No, I'm just saying, like, there's, even though I got a digital bench tester, I mean, your guys is analog. So I might say, oh, well, that's like 171.5. And you're like, well, no, that's 171 3/4. I mean, because you're like, okay.
When people come out with these numbers, like if they're
the 84-pound shit.
If they're adding their product listing and they're like, oh, this, this spring rated at, this amount of pressure. It's like, that doesn't mean anything to you.
No.
No.
It's all about how they set their stuff. So like if you see like a stupid amount of spring pressure, it's just like that doesn't mean anything to you. It's all about how they set their stuff.
And when we test springs, we actually test them at mid lift, which is what's most important, because the valve sees mid lift twice. Well, and the spring sees mid lift twice per cycle, where it only sees seat pressure and open pressure once.
Well, and I mean, I think the other piece of it too is, if we were to test it at install height, you're barely kissing a spring. I mean, to get install height, it means nothing. And it doesn't tell you enough. I mean, at least halfway through or mid lift, like you said, I mean, we're not at coil bind, but we're a lot closer. I mean, we're going to get a much more accurate number.
Well, you're getting that. I mean, it's about controlling the valve. So it's about controlling the valve from floating. So going too far open. Yeah. It's about controlling the valve hitting the seat, which you don't want it to bounce. So that mid lift number is what's important.
Well, now this is interesting. I want to throw this out there for anybody who's in the Midwest, that there is, I had a customer call me last week who got a set of matched beehive springs, and we don't ever like publish our numbers because again, they don't mean anything to anybody as far as, as long as we set our machine the same, that way we get the consistency from one day to the next. But, I got a call and the guy's like, well, I might have to return these springs. And I was like, well, I mean, first, I don't actually do returns on matched springs, because if you've opened the box, like, no. But he says, well, because I might not be able to run them because they're not in my rules. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I mean, these are just regular GM springs. He says, well, I mean, I talked to the tech guy. I mean, they're not blue. I'm like, dude, they haven't been blue for 2 years.
Oh my God.
I mean, they haven't been blue for 2 years. Right. And then he also said, well, but I also looked at your product listing and it says that they test at like 295 pounds. I was like, okay, I don't know what you're looking at, but here, let me take a look. I said, whatever's there, we probably straight up copied and pasted from GM, which we would, I mean, what are the specs on this, right? So in GM's specs for a 604 beehive spring, it's 295 pounds at, and then they've got some number there. Well, I mean, we don't test them that way. Well, this series has a rule that they can't test more than 265 open. Good God. Open pressure. Well, I mean, I'm not testing them that way. I mean, these are, I'm like, these are straight up like
Yeah.
GM springs. I mean, we really don't run into bad ones, but you're going to see some variation from one spring to the next. And it's more important that, I think the way to put it is if you had two shoes on and one of them has a higher heel than the other, you're going to be very uncomfortable. And I think, I mean, I know you guys don't really wear heels, but imagine if you were wearing a one flip flop and one cowboy boot, it's gonna be a bad deal.
Yeah,
and I think that's what we're talking about with matched valve springs,
for sure.
or matched pressures anyway on valve springs versus not being matched. It's more important that they match, whether you're wearing both cowboy boots or both flip flops, rather than mixing and matching.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting rule.
Yeah, actually,
I
had a call from a racing series last week, actually. And I mean, kind of pertains, kind of on the subject, but what ended up happening. So I believe, it was a 602. They tore it apart at the racetrack, and the combustion chamber volume was like 60 cc's. Well, here recently, a lot of people don't know this. Here recently, GM came out with their new book. So they're back to 62 on 604s as being the bottom number as far as combustion chamber volume. Well, the book before that was 60. So the guy ended up getting tossed for having 60 cc heads. But GM can't control their own tolerances on all this stuff. So I'm like, nope, did the guy wrong there. But turns out he was 100% illegal on something else. So that was just but like,
I thought there was a rebound coming.
No, but everybody's got to like stay on top of the series they're racing with. Like stay on top of them. I mean, get with engine builders and be like, hey, no, you need to like talk to the freaking series owners and get this shit right, because it's varied so much over the years with GM, because again, they can't keep their own tolerances. It's outrageous. It's like install height numbers on 602s. God, how long have they been illegal, Alex? 3 years?
Time. Yeah.
3-4 years now? They can't even meet install height from the factory.
Straight out of the box.
Straight out of the box. It's illegal.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
you got to stay on top of the series. What I'm getting at.
Well, I don't think, or at least in my experience, what I've seen with many rules is you can tell that they've literally just been copied and pasted from year to year, or you just slap a new number on the top.
Correct.
Or somebody's cried and whined, and now there's some new rule in red, but we're just going to keep in everything that was already there before.
Correct.
Which then could be in conflict with one another. So, I mean, it's not really viewed as a whole.
No.
And I can understand that. I mean, we've taken your 602 and 604 recommendations. When I say we, over at Crate Insider.
Yep.
And rather than just copying and pasting, I mean, we're really digging in and saying, okay, well, what about this? And, what about this over here? And we're trying to make sure that everything's really all in line with one another. 100%. And that's not, it takes a little bit of extra time to be able to do.
Absolutely.
And to be able to take a look at that. And again, relationships, you got to have the right people that you can reference. That can
back to
be
where
honest.
we were talking at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, so I guess that's the theme. It's all about relationships. Yeah. All right. So we're moving on. We got a bunch more comments here. So Josh says, "Hey, you got that special part right there with with Alex there. You got that special. Oh, you're special.
Shouldn't you be in a casino somewhere?"
Oh, I don't know what that's all about. I think there's a little bit of.
He knows what that means.
Okay. All right. So let's see here. Dave says, purchase a set of your 602 valve springs, and there was a bag of intakes and a bag of exhausts. What is the difference? Matched at different rates.
All right. So I'll answer this because I'm the one that told how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual higher rated spring is on the intake because it's a heavier valve. The lower rated spring is on the exhaust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
to the point.
There you go. That answers that. And Alan's here. He says, "Hi guys, great idea. Love to hear from different guests. Good to finally see Alex. You can't tell them apart."
That's an insult. Come on now. I'm way better looking than he is.
Oh, Hal says, "Who's this? Who's the skinny cute boy?" Is what Hal says. This is Alex.
I got questions for you, buddy.
And then Hal also says, "Steve, growing a beard?"
Well, no, I'm just too lazy to fucking shave, honestly. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Grizzly Adams.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't grow anything. I'm just patching over here.
You got quite the.
One day
Yeah,
you
that's
will.
awful.
You
One
got
day
the
you
like
will
the
grow up.
stash.
Maybe not. Maybe
I
I'll
don't know.
just be like this
Let's.
forever.
I think we need a close up on the Alex stash there. There we go. The
You
Alex
got the
stash.
Alex cam going on.
Alex cam. Alex cam. There we go. Yeah.
Jawline is impeccable. Though.
I'm not growing a beard at all. Yeah. Just saying. I mean, I just want to be part of the.
I would hope
part of
not.
the
I'd be
group here.
seriously concerned.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. There we go.
Tell us your beauty secrets, Kate.
Yeah.
They're expensive. Yeah. You really don't want to know. High maintenance.
Oh, I know. I've got
Oh,
one at the house. I know how much she spends on her stuff. So I
Yeah.
use it. No, I'll use it. I don't care. I'm not ashamed of it.
Wait, you use what?
These $high shampoos and face washes
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like that. So.
That's why you're looking all, like me now.
Glistening, like you.
Yeah.
Calm down. You use like a bar of soap. They use like the
Anything you
dial
says 3 or
soap.
4 in one, I'm good.
yeah, 6-in-1. Hair, body, face, transmission fluid,
Asshole.
whatever it is.
Alrighty then. Okay. Back to spark plugs. Darren says, "How about the brisket of 602?"
All right. So my friend Jason Orr up in Erie, Pennsylvania, he's got a brisk plug that he claims works really good with like shit gas. And like if you're on just shitty freaking horrible gas, he said that works great. We've tried that same plug in like 604s on good gas. It doesn't work. I don't recall the number, honestly.
I don't either. We tried a couple of
Yeah,
them,
yep.
and they were terrible. Okay, let's see here. Sean says, "Just went through the Grand Canyon. So awesome out here."
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because he was watching us from Arizona.
That's
I've been out
awesome.
there. Have you
Yep.
been to the Grand Canyon?
I've never been. No,
Nope, I haven't either.
Oh wow, it's super cool.
I've never been.
It's on
I've
the
flown
bucket
over it.
Well,
I've just
wow,
never been there. Been
wow,
there.
wow, flew over it. Wow.
You've been to the you've been to the Titanic?
Oh,
I flew
God,
over it.
that's not-
I flew over it too. Hence fly, not dive.
Yeah, it's a tough deal there. All right,
that's rough.
let's see here. Chad says, "What car would you recommend? Would you recommend running on a 604 going in a street truck?"
Carburetor?
Oh,
I assume he's gonna. I assume it's
okay.
gonna be carb.
Okay, because it is
Oh,
just
the
car.
street
So
truck.
I'm like,
Okay.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, he does say carb.
Yeah.
All right, in his next comment.
I mean,
Oh.
honestly, it's hard to believe or hard to beat like a 600 vacuum secondary Holly. Just throw that thing on there and go drive it around. Really, I mean, those things are awesome.
Easy to work on.
Easy to work on. Yeah. So
Okay,
that's what I'd go
Or
with.
easy to set, rather.
Yeah, true.
gotcha. Let's see. Matt says, "I would be in staging, letting the car idle, and when I get on track, the motor will be sputtering at a couple of laps until it clears up." So this
that
is
might be a float issue.
Well, no, it's gonna be a fuel issue.
Well, I know, but like I'm talking about levels.
Right. But like normally, so depending on the fuel you're using, I mean, I'd like to know the fuel you're using.
he's running the 93. Remember,
93.
or the
Okay.
VP110 mix.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the whole mix thing is like not. That's horrible. Don't mix. Yeah. I mean, if things loading up, I mean, it's loading up. Don't let it sit there and go thumpity thump idling. Keep it cleared out. I mean, at some point, everything's going to load up to a point. If it's running on the track fine, then it's going to be an issue. Just don't let the thing load up.
Yeah, it's not the matter of knocking it in neutral and revving the motor up,
No.
but actually buzzing the tires and clearing it out properly.
Okay. All right. So Scott's here. He says, "How close are the chips in an MSD to actual RPM on the Tach?" Oh, Steve loves to talk about Tachs.
I hate tax.
All right. Tacks suck.
Yeah.
Especially those tail tacks. They're piles
Tell
of
tax,
shit.
Can't stand them.
So always trust the chip.
Mm-hmm.
Don't trust the tack. That being said, generally, you can overrun that chip by 100 to 200 RPM, especially with momentum, or if you're like bouncing through holes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Freewheeling it will like overrun the chip like crazy. But
Which we had a guy that came into dyno the other day, and he was saying that he wasn't turning enough RPM, and hooked him up to the dyno and everything. And I noticed immediately, I was looking at our computer monitor over here, and I'm running at 3,500, and his tach says 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's your problem, right? And then once you get up to
now he's still winning.
Yeah,
he's still winning.
He's still winning. But like once you get up to speed, it's a little. I mean, it's probably a little less. It's probably like 300 less, but still, like the tach is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And like the tach that I use is a Longacre one. Mm-hmm. It's digital and analog all in one. So it's got the digital readout, and then it's got an analog as well. And then you also have a record button, so you can press the record button before you go out for qualifying, and you can see like
everything on the track.
Everything on the track. Like if you hit a bump, and that just the RPM spikes or something like that, then you can see that. Or if you're just constantly hitting the chip, then like, hey, I got to change gears or whatever the case may be. So, but no, these other tachs, like some of the quick car ones I've seen, they're off by 100, 200, something like that. But the tail tachs I've seen are the worst for being off.
Yeah, those things are just horrible. They don't even belong in a race car.
The Longacre one's the only ones I'd ever put in my car.
Great to know. Big shout out to Longacre. Mm-hmm. Ben Baker has always been so helpful to us over there at AFCO and Longacre. That's really great. On this, since we're talking about chips, I actually got a question by email this last week. And this is from Sean, and he says, I have a 602 in my B mod. I'm turning 6150 RPMs and not seeming to ever hit the chip. When I had more gear and I was hitting the chip, the car seemed faster, but I was worried about hurting something. How hard can I be on the chip, and what do you recommend for speed and also for longevity? So I responded, and I just let him know that for this, anything over 6400, anything higher than that, you'd go into valve float. So that would be like the limit. And he's like, well, I have a 602. We have to run a 6200 chip. My question is, how hard do I need to be on the chip when I'm racing? Should I hit it a lot? Should I never hit it? Does it hurt anything by hitting the chip?
It depends on the racetrack, honestly. So like you'll run into scenarios where you got like let's say a quarter-mile track, and it may be advantageous to you, depending on the track surface and the configuration and everything, to be on the chip at the flag stand. But it could also be more advantageous to be on the chip as you're entering the corner, or never being on the chip at all. You look at someplace like, going to Dad's Memorial Race, right, in Pennsylvania. Remember when they had the big block modifieds up there that they had 602s in or whatever? Those dudes were like on the chip all the way around the damn racetrack. And you and I are sitting there going, what the freaking hell is going on here? Pull some gear out of that bitch and go faster than everybody else. That's a big half mile. That makes no sense to me. But in a quarter-mile scenario, it can make sense to actually be on the ship at the flag stand.
I noticed that too with like you were saying with those Northeast modifieds or whatever. The ones that raced up there a few years ago when I went, and then they were hitting. I mean, halfway down the straightaway, here's the flag stand, and they're like the whole way down past that, and I'm like, what?
And that makes no sense to me.
What are you doing? You're not gaining no speed.
But they all did it.
No, every single.
I'm like sitting there going, just one dude pull some freaking gear out and just go dominate.
That's all you got to do.
Well, I mean, and with that, if you are pushing to hit the chip, is at what point do you start hurting the engine or hurting components?
Technically, you can't hurt the engine. I mean, there's old wives' tales that you can hurt the engine, but technically you can't. Now, like the MSD, it fires or it knocks out every other ignition pulse, but it can actually do the same cylinder twice. Whereas, like back in the day when we had the fast ignition,
it would cycle through them all.
It would never knock out the same one twice.
Right.
So it almost felt like, this is back when I was racing. It almost felt like you like drove through the rev limiter. So it never slowed you down. So an MSD one, it almost feels like a Jake brake comes on once you're in the chip or once you're in the rev limiter. So, I mean, again, it's just going to be track variable. It's going to be what is needed on that night to go fast.
Well, and let's talk about this for a
'Cause-
second, because I've heard this from both of you guys, is that sometimes like you go out there for some practice laps and you feel like you have lit the world on fire.
Mhm.
And you come in and see your times, and then you go out there and you maybe you change a gear or something, you do
Right.
something, I don't know, do some magic, and you don't feel like you were as fast, and then
Right.
you find out when you thought you were fast, you weren't.
Right.
And when you
No, you weren't fast. You weren't.
yeah, I mean, and Alex, I think I've definitely heard you experience this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That goes to the feel of things.
Yeah.
So like anytime you feel like you're fast, generally you're slow.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
everything's just so smooth.
If you
and-
feel like so
Oh my
uncomfortable,
God.
it's not funny. Then you're
usually
probably
fast.
quick time or somewhere close to it. It's crazy that it's crazy to explain.
But back to the chip thing. So like what makes a difference at a lot of places is number one, the track you're running. So how many cars do you pass going into the corner versus how many cars do you pass coming off the corner?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if you can pass cars coming off the corner and you're in the chip at the flag stand, odds are they're not passing you back at the end of the straightaway. So there's that to think about.
Great.
That just all depends on track configuration, like you said.
That's what I'm
too.
getting.
It's
It's
just
all track.
if it's stop and go, then you'll need the gear.
You need gear. Gotta
You
have
need the gear to get off the corner, and if
Exactly.
you got too much in there, then you're gonna be just
Right.
kind of creeping up off the corner.
So you go to a half-mile momentum track. No, you don't want. You never want to touch the rev limiter on a half-mile momentum track, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not.
Now, speaking of chips and speaking of tax and all of this is just a question I have. I mean, not everybody can be on the dyno, or, you might have a situation where you change something. Is it kind of a gauge? Like, when you're on the chip, is that if maybe you go out some practice laps and you get to the chip and then you can look at your tack, and would that give you an idea of how far your tack is off? I mean, and not down to the one or anything.
No, because most people trust the tack rather than the chip.
No, but if you're listening for it and you're like, oh, just hit the chip, let me look. Oh, this says I'm only running 6,000. I know the chip is 6,400. Like
90% of dudes nowadays never look at the gauges.
Oh, okay.
To be
Well, I mean, if you were in
seems-
practice laps, if
No,
you were something you were trying to test, would you not pay attention to it? Maybe throw a GoPro on it?
No,
I don't know.
it seems very obvious, but you would be surprised as to the people that are just like, this thing won't turn in your RPM. I'm like, okay, well, let's find out. And I can tell you in the first 2 minutes of running the thing, like, yeah, your tack's off 400 RPM. Like,
And I see Matt Henderson is here. So saying, hey, guys.
What's
Hey,
up?
Matt. Nice to see you. And one thing Matt likes to say too, or I think it was Matt that said it at the crate class. If you feel comfortable, you're
Oh,
or
100%.
maybe it's something you said, but
I
you feel
mean-
comfortable, you're not fast.
yeah, you're going slow.
Years and years and years ago, I went to like a seminar that Dale McDowell put on, and this was back when I was like racing super late models, and Dale was talking about that. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes total sense. That's why I'm comfortable half the time I'm qualifying, and I'm like 10th,
Yeah. But I felt really fast.
I felt really fast.
And Pat says, you guys rock a great haircut even with your earphones. Wow,
go.
look at there. The
I'm
person
gonna
who
have a
cuts your
huge
hair.
indent now in my
Yep.
head.
And Hal likes your Alex stash. Cool.
Don't worry about it.
And I'm not even going there. What, Ashley? I'm not showing your comment.
Me-
All right,
me-
we're
me-
moving on.
Me and Alex have the same hair artist, by the way.
Yeah. 750 brawler. Okay. And Dylan says, can Alex show me how to go fast around Cherokee next Monday? This is from Dylan.
Oh, yeah. How's that ankle doing, bud? But no, I can try. Like I told you last time when we were at Harris. I mean, I might go fast, or I might be in the way. We'll just have to see. But no, it's a little different. I don't know when the last time you were there was, but it's a little different now. A little slower. You got to stay up a little higher.
They've changed it a lot.
It's
honestly.
changed a bit. It's changed a bit. You need to throw out your notebook of what you got now and kind of start fresh. Because, like I said, it's a bit different.
Yep.
Hal thinks, Steve, you're looking muscular. Of course, I'm the one who went to the gym today.
Well,
Okay.
I don't go to the gym.
Yeah. Lifting the brewskis.
I know there's that. Yeah, that's probably what the muscle
There you go.
tone came from.
Now, Chris is asking a question. He says, "What's a good jet size for a 602 with a 650 Willys carb on 102 fuel?" Honestly, that's going to be a Willys question.
Yeah, it's a Willys question, and it's honestly a loaded question. I mean, not that you're. I say loaded question. It's not you're trying to stump anybody. I'm just saying it's not something. If you've got a guy's carburetor, call that guy and to ask him what to run. Honestly.
Yeah,
because everybody does their internals differently.
Everything's different. like on all the stuff we do, we don't even change jets anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's all done with air bleeds and emulsion bleeds and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and interesting. JR says, I feel the total opposite on the qualifying. I'm usually blistering fast on the stopwatch when I feel slow. Yeah, and that's where that's exactly what we're saying. Here you can think you feel slow, but you're actually really fast.
Exactly.
And I see Gary is here and Doug and Jeff. So thanks for being here. I've got a couple other questions here. And this one's kind of interesting here. What octane? Well, this has got more detail here. But if you had a choice between 93, 110, or 50-50 mix or a straight 110, which would you pick, Steve?
93. Just straight up?
At sea level.
Well, honestly, even though like if you're getting 93, it'll produce more power. In I assume this is a 602.
Well, it's a 602, 650 carb. I mean, I'll just read you the whole thing then, because you want more deals. What octane should you use on a 602, 650 carb, R5724-8, plugs gapped at 35, sea level, 93, 110, 50-50, or straight 110?
Yeah, the 93 will produce more power, but due to consistency, I would rather run the 110.
But if you can get something that's consistent all the time,
then that's a lower octane, then yes. But out of those three choices, I'd be on the 110.
All right. Next question: is 3/8 fuel line enough to supply a 650 carb on a 602? It's a must be quarter mile asphalt track.
Not in my opinion, no.
Okay. So what size line would you use?
I'd be using probably 1/2 inch.
Okay. Gotcha. And this next one, my 602 late model fuel pressure. I watched your video and I understand it needs to be between 6 to 8 PSI with no more than a pound or so up or down under load. Mine is fluctuating 4 pounds or more from idle to higher RPM. My question is, would the regulator be bad or the fuel pump? Thank you.
It could be one of either or, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Usually if you're dropping fuel pressure at RPM, it's generally going to be a pump issue.
Okay.
Rather than a regulator issue, especially if it's a bypass. I mean, if it's a bypass, it's always going to be a pump issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense because it's basically, it's just set at a certain pressure.
Correct.
And like whatever goes over. Oh yeah, you can take that.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a valve going bad in a pump or something like that. I'm assuming it's a mechanical pump. I mean, belt drive's going to be consistent all the time.
Yeah,
which is why I always recommend belt drives if you're allowed to run them.
I was reading that over shoulder. I thought he meant that it was fluctuating.
It's the bouncy thing.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot.
The bouncy thing is like on a mechanical pump is like pump pulsation.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that a lot.
Gotcha. And let's see. Alan says, I think Steve is beaming. I want to see him put his arm across your shoulders next week, and he should be proud. Great show. Well, thanks, Alan.
Good deal.
Appreciate that. Jeff says, hey, Steve, how much can you get out of a 604 that can't be sealed anymore? As far as a legal Nesmith motor you've done all the work on, block is to max spec from last freshen.
Well, all right. I'd hang on to it for a little bit.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that. I'm guessing.
I can't say anything.
Yeah, but just leave it at that.
I would hang on to it for a little bit, honestly. So yeah, just hang on to it.
Now, I know one of the reasons we wanted to do the show tonight is we wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of suspension and the relationship with your shot guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anything in particular that you wanted to bring to the table or let people know about, but
I'm going to step aside and use the restroom real quick.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
You got
so
Alex here to.
I know. So I've even got the Alex cam. So I got the Alex cam, And there we go. There's the Alex cam. So Alex, just tell us a little bit about some helpful information that would help racers.
No, like I was saying before, it's just those 4 corners, man, they mean everything on your car. And having a good shot guy that's on top of his game and knows what he's doing is key these days. If you got Billy Joe Ray in the backyard doing your shocks, and I can promise you're not going fast. Guys that are in the here and the now, that are always up to date on what's going on. And I mean, it took me a few years to find the guy that I trust, but I trust him wholeheartedly. And every time I've been on the racetrack and finished a race, I haven't finished out of the top 5. I've had, obviously I've had some DNFs and stuff like that, where just stupid stuff has happened. But as far as having a race car that you can trust and is not going to let you down and you can control, and it's not controlling you, it means the world. And if you can control that car, and you can put it where you want to, then you're going fast. Like I said, I'll tell you straight up, my guy is Wyatt Hardison, and that man is the smartest joker alive that I know of at the moment. Like I said, we switched to him last year, end of last year, or middle of last year sometime. And like I said, he's helped me tremendously. We've been testing together. We've been R&Ding together. We've been doing all kinds of stuff, and we've found a really good package, I think. So we're about to, I don't know if I'd say debut it, but we're about to find out what it does here at Gaffney on July 3rd. So I'm looking forward to it. And just like I said, it's imperative that you find somebody like that. You got all these guys running around. I mean, even national levels. You look at these national level teams, they're running around with engineers, like all these guys that, just step down from like NASCAR and things like that. And they just have so much knowledge behind them. And these dirt late model teams are utilizing these guys and going out there and winning and just creating new things, and all that stuff kind of trickles down from the higher ups, so to speak. So like in Lucas Oil, they might find something that's good, and then I don't know, they might have it for 2-3 months, and then it'll trickle down the line, and then everybody else will get it. So like I said, the thing that really sets Wyatt apart from everybody, in my opinion, is that he's on top of everything. He knows what the next best thing is when it happens. So like I said, we're always trying stuff, and he's been a blessing to our team. So I'm happy to have him on board for sure. But,
well, again, back to relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it means everything.
Yeah.
Relationships mean everything.
Like when you can get your shot guy to go test with you.
Oh, it's
shot guy to go test with you.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're out there without your shot guy, then
yeah,
I mean, you could be doing all these adjustments, and he might show up and tell you like you went the complete wrong way, because we've done that before.
Oh yeah.
we're like, I'm like, hey, what do I do? And he's like, and I'm, I couldn't get a hold of him one night.
Polar opposite of what you just did.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, let's change this and this and this. And I call him up, and he's like, dude, you went the wrong way. And I'm like, oh, well, that's why I suck.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. And I'm still gonna I'm gonna fall back on RaceLogic chassis schools. So racelogic.vip. If whether if you've got a street stock or if you've got a crate late model, especially, we've got some incredible classes over there. I say we because I actually help participate. I actually film all of that and help out with the website, but I'm not an expert in any of that. One thing I have learned from that is, let's talk about how a person can, really connect with a shock guy. And one of the tips that I received at RaceLogic is, if you call a shock guy and you're like, hey, I mean, I need, I'm looking for somebody to do shocks for my, let's say street stock. If they're just like, okay, yeah, don't. The next thing that should happen is they should ask you a million questions
Mhm.
all about your driving style and I guess that would be like maybe where I look to you guys and say, if you are shopping for a shot guy, other than the tip that I just gave, what particular questions would you ask? Like if you were interviewing, because this is someone you're basically hiring in their own way. I mean, sure, you're not paying them by the hour, but you're basically hiring someone to be on your race team. So what questions are you asking of a potential shot guy to make sure that you are landing with the right person? Because there's a lot of great shot guys out there. It's not just your guy.
No.
I know. I've done work with him with Race Logic. Robbie Bilbrey is a freaking NASA
absolutely.
engineer. Amazing. Ben Baker over at AFCO, and Ben's done every kind of racing that you can imagine. And whether you go testing with him or not, I think it depends on where you are on your experience level and how much you can communicate. Because if you call up and say, hey, here's what's happening, and you get into all the nitty gritty and you truly know your race car and you know your racing style and you can explain, what the outside looks like from the inside, I think you could have a telecommunications relationship with your shot guy.
Oh, yeah.
But in those first interviews, or what are, throw out some questions that you would put into an interview of finding the right shot guy for you.
Well, it's like this with a lot of things, but you got to find somebody that you can relate with. Like, first of all, so there's guys that you're going to call that, you'll tell them what you want, what you need or whatever, and then they'll just send you a bill, and then there's other guys that will actually dive in deeper and be like, hey, what's going on? Like, how does it feel here? Like, let's break the corners down on where you're feeling this. And like people that actually like want to help you, those are the people that you need to be following, not the people that are just like, oh yeah, I would go to him because, my shocks are good and this and that. And then you go to them and they just front you a bill and you're like, I don't know what I've got. I don't know how to tune it. I don't know what I'm doing. And then you don't hear a peep from them until you need to get them rebuilt. So
it's similar to like the relationship I had with Mike Farr back in the day, when he was alive, bless him, but with Genesis. I can call Mike any day of the week. I never went and tested with him, but like we just established a friendship over the phone, and he'd call me and be like, hey dude, I come up with something new. You want to try it? Yeah. And it was like my buddy Max Blair that races up in Pennsylvania. He's a super late model driver now, but back in the day he was running crates. Me and Max were like his crash test dummies a lot of times. So you're like, hey, this worked on Max's. You want to try it? I'm like, hell yeah. Or yeah, hell, you might have told Max, hey, this worked on Steve's. You want to try it? That kind of shit.
Well, it's just nice to know that like somebody with not as many years of experience as most people, I've been racing for like 4 years now, on and off, but it's nice to know that somebody like wants to help you and wants to see you grow and do better.
Yep. And
they're giving you all the tools and all the knowledge they know to make that happen. And it has happened. Like,
yeah,
I mean, like I said, I haven't raced a whole lot, but I mean, I won this past year, so I was like super thrilled with that.
Well, you dominated a bunch of super late models and freaking limit steelhead cars with a 525.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge achievement in my book. That was 10 wins.
It was like an ugly win.
Yeah.
Well, I think I wonder if one of the factors, obviously in racing, as race car drivers, there's a whole lot of ego. I mean, you need a lot of ego to be able to do what you do.
You need to show up and think that you're going to win at all times.
Always.
If you don't, you might as well load up and go home.
But at the same time, you probably need to put your ego aside a bit in order to listen to the shot guy.
Oh, absolutely.
You kind of got to check that.
Well,
if you think you're the expert, if you are the smartest person probably in the wrong room is how that goes.
No, exactly. And to touch on that too, if you're out, like I said, if you're out testing with a shot guy or whatnot, you gotta, listen to what he's got to say, because you can go out there and be like, oh, I'm feeling this, this, and this, And then he's like, okay, well, all I need to do is change this and this here. And you're like, no, I don't think that's where we need to start. Like, I think we need to start on this end.
Mm-hmm.
And then granted, like, you're paying him, so he's going to do what you want him to do. But like, listen to what he's got to say, because he's the expert.
Mm-hmm.
You're not. If you were an expert, you'd be a shot guy, but you're not.
Or you'd be the engine guy too, because there's always that.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like you go to a race and the guy's like, this engine won't run. You look at their car and they're pushing like a dump truck. Like,
or they didn't wash it after last weekend.
No wonder it won't run, because you're killing all your fucking momentum. I mean, that kind of shit.
Well, it's interesting when we kicked this all off. You had mentioned that one thing that you've really learned more than anything else is humility. And and it's interesting how we've come really full circle talking about humility and and being humble and like, hey, no, I really, I'm not going to pretend to know this.
No, God, you can't. I mean, there's too many people out there in this industry that know a lot more than you do about certain things. And if you're going and thinking you know everything and you're top dog or whatever, then I promise you, there's a billion people out there that'll prove you wrong.
Yeah, it's a good way to
on
lose.
any given night.
On any given night.
Yep. All right. Well, I know we're right at the hour mark, so let's say we got a couple more comments. Do you have any last minute or last thoughts before I read these last couple comments, or anything else you're like, hey, I really want to make sure I say this on the podcast tonight?
What else we got? What can we think of here?
If I ship you an engine, answer the phone.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Just
that
saying.
too. If we call you and tell you it's done, please pick it up.
There you go. Okay. Oh, Doug's got a good question. He says, how can a racetrack run without a tech man?
Not very damn well.
No.
It depends on how good they are.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got the tech man that like goes there for his hot dogs, his free hot dogs and his fucking Coke. And then you got like, tracks that actually have tech men, which does not exist very often in very many places. I will say I'll brag on the Rush series. At least like Vicky and them, they go around and just randomly show up at tracks and then they go through tech. So
and they go to
even if they got a shitty tech
too.
man, yeah.
There's pre-race tech and post-race.
She'll show up and do that stuff.
All right. So our last few Doug says Ray Charles is here.
Ray Charles is here.
Oh, but Ray Charles, the blind singer, is the tech man wherever he is right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. So Blue Ridge late, Outlaw Late Model Series. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Yep.
He says, see y'all in a week at Cherokee.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir,
Great.
we'll be there.
And awesome Spider Monkey, Wesley Outland, our amazing announcer friend. I haven't seen him in way too long. He says, hello, Kate, Dylan, Steve Hendren, and Alex Hendren. And he says, hashtag where's Wesley? Yes.
Where is Wesley?
And Wesley says, I need to pop in for a visit and join you on the set soon.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Wesley so much, for sure. So I think we can wrap things up. You guys, any final thoughts, final words?
I think it was kind of a good show tonight.
Yeah, I think we're doing good. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for being part of the podcast. Hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. Help our numbers a little bit. Hit that like button. Share this with a friend wherever you're watching it. And if you're not on the Crate Insider email list, be sure to join, because with any of these podcasts, we send them out the next day, and we also put in product recommendations, things like that. So you can sign up for our email list at CrateInsider.com. Any final thoughts on Hendren Racing Engines?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just want to remind everybody that next week he'll be racing, so we won't be doing the podcast next weekend or next Monday.
Yeah.
But I assume we'll be back the following Monday.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
And if y'all are in the area, please come out and say hi. I mean, I'll have some T-shirts there.
Cherokee Speedway, Gaffney, South Carolina.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the plug.
Mhm.
But whatever I've got left, I'm bringing. So y'all have been cleaning me out of T-shirts, which I like. Thank you so much for doing that. But so we'll be Gaffney, Cherokee Speedway, July 3rd. This next coming Monday, and we're gonna go for it. We're gonna give it all she's got, and hopefully we can pull off a win. I'm really jonesing for one after that last one. So let's see if we can make it happen.
All right. Well, good luck to you, Alex. And
Thank you.
and thank you to you guys. See you next time.
See ya.
Later.